Grew up with as a poor kid and also not educated about business. I wanted to be a millionaire, so I thought $1 million in business was a great target, and so we started out with that target. It took us 5 years to get to our first $1 million in revenue, and I realized after being in business for 5 years and getting to $1 million of revenue, that was nowhere near a millionaire status for me, and our business needed to be 10 times the size of that because we were farming the crop and had manufacturing facilities, and it's really costly to grow a retail consumer brand. And so I started to see the next part of the vision. But yeah, I never would have imagined that we would have grown $100 million business.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Mitlin Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Mitlin Financial. Today's guest is Mike Fata, serial entrepreneur and the visionary founder of Manitoba Harvest Hemp Foods. Mike Fata is a pioneer in the natural health food industry, known for transforming Manitoba Harvest into the world's largest hemp food manufacturer. His passion for health, wellness, and sustainable living has driven his remarkable entrepreneurial journey. Under his leadership, Manitoba Harvest has made hemp-based foods mainstream, helping to educate consumers about the nutritional and environmental benefits of hemp. As a seasoned entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience, Mike has also become an advocate for business development, mentorship, and the power of purpose-driven ventures. His success story is one of resilience, innovation, and a deep commitment to improving the well-being of others. Join us as we explore Mike Fata's entrepreneurial path, learn about the growth of the hemp industry, and discover how his approach to business can inspire you to pursue your own passion-driven success. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with Mike Fata, serial entrepreneur, and you know we love entrepreneurs on this show, and the visionary founder of Manitoba Harvest Hemp Foods. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Mike, listen, we're all about the entrepreneurial journey here, and we'll talk a lot about what you're doing today. But perhaps you could just give our listeners an idea of your background, your entrepreneurial journey up into the point of founding Manitoba Harvest Hemp Foods.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I grew up with a single mom, and we were pretty poor. And so I decided when I was 14 to drop out of school. That led me to getting into the workforce, but I fell prey to fast food and ate way too much fast food and found myself at 18 years old weighing 300 pounds. And then decided one day that I was going to change that and started on my health journey, which I lost over 100 pounds. But that health journey got me super interested in healthy foods, including the powers of hemp seed. And that's how we founded Manitoba Harvest.
Amazing. So, although you came from a single mom household, did you have entrepreneurial influences in your life that were like, you kind of knew that that was the direction, or was it just a function of, out of need, right? You had an interest, not maybe interested as much in school, more interested in business. Like, how did that formulate for you?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really understood the term entrepreneur until I was older. It was just trying to make something out of nothing, right? Which is really what entrepreneurship's all about now. But it was a survival then. I just wanted to make some money so I could support myself and help my family out, and I was looking for means to be able to do that. My mom was an accountant and worked for Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada, and so had experience on the product side of business. When we got into the healthy product business, she could help coach and mentor me, even though she wasn't an entrepreneur.
Amazing, amazing. And I will tell you. So recently, I read the book Good Energy. Are you familiar with that book?
I'm not. I'll have to check it out.
Okay. So I read that, and it's got me rethinking everything I'm eating. Now, things in Canada, there are a lot of things that are not allowed in Canadian foods, et cetera, that are allowed here. And, I know myself and my family enjoy going to Canada and eating because the food tends to be a lot more cleaner. But the stuff here in the US, and after reading that book, has my eyes wide open.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the U.S. Maybe should be the leader in that, but yeah, Europe and Canada have a lot more stringent rules on certain items that are known to be unhealthy for us to eat, but the
Yeah,
U.S. allows that for whatever reason.
it's
That's not
crazy.
that's not really serving the people.
It's crazy. So, your website opens up with my entrepreneurship journey began with one simple decision to get healthy, right? And that's really what you just mentioned was really your driver. Like, what was the impetus there? Was it simply hey, not feeling good, not looking good, or was it even more, in depth than that?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything. Being 300 pounds, I smoked cigarettes at that time. I felt crappy every day. I wasn't educated about health, and just eating fast food, ultra processed food, smoking cigarettes, drinking a couple liters of soda a day, so like way too much sugar, and I just felt horrible from the time that I got up till I went to bed, and I was suffering from health issues at 18 years old. None of us should be suffering really from health issues, food related, and I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and thankfully my brother, who's 4 years older than me, was a little chubby when he was a kid, but he had already started working out and he was hitting the gym. And so I had a mentor or a catalyst that when I said I wanted to change my lifestyle, change my diet and exercise, he said, "Hey, I'll take you to the gym," and started me on that journey.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that's amazing for a 14-year-old to kind of recognize that because, as you're aware, right, this is a big issue and a big challenge for youngsters, not only in Canada but in the U.S. as well. Probably even more so here than there for some of those things we already mentioned. What advice would you have for kids, for teens that are kind of in that spot that wake up maybe not feeling great, maybe thinking that they're not looking great, and maybe there are outside constraints that are happening in their life that are not motivating them necessarily to care as much about that stuff? What advice do you have to them that they could start implementing that might be helpful for them to kind of move towards the same journey?
Yeah, I think the first thing is consciousness that majority of how we feel, how we look is things that we put in our mouth. A lot of people just mistake to think that food is just something that you eat, but it becomes every part of us. And my learning is, the body works really simple when you feed it a natural food diet. So generally whole foods and more simple foods, and that may look like a chicken breast and a potato and a salad or some veggies instead of a highly processed burger or chips or all this other ultra processed food. So if you could simplify the diet and really, that doesn't mean that it's not going to taste great. It doesn't mean it's going to cost more. You can just simplify the diet by focusing on eating more whole foods, and it's going to have an impact almost immediately, but for sure within a couple of weeks give you more energy, and then you're going to want to do more things like work out or do things that you love, and it's a positive snowball effect from there.
Yeah, we talk about the three-legged stool a lot here: physical health, mental health, and financial health, and they're all really intertwined, right? If you're physically feeling better, you're going to be better financially, and your mental health is going to be better. It's all intertwined, and I think that's what you're speaking to.
Yeah, and I say my kind of three are you have to be your best self to do your best work and build your best community. And if you can get those three things aligned, then you're going to have your best day. You're going to live your best day ever every day.
Yeah, I agree. So how did this all lead to, this whole journey lead to founding Manitoba Harvest? What was kind of the progression from, hey, I want to get healthy, want to get fit, want to, eat clean, et cetera, and now want to help other people, and maybe you could speak to what Manitoba Harvest really is, what it was, what it does, and then kind of that journey into that progression.
Yeah, I was learning on the go as I was adjusting my diet, and I went on the no fat diet, which was very popular in the mid 1990s. Dr. Nathan Pritikin and his materials about if you eat no fat, you'll lose weight, and so I started exercising, but I started generally eating a no fat diet, and that worked to lose some weight. But I started to suffer ill health from what I learned after is cutting the fat out of my diet. Right nowadays, we know that essential fatty acids, omega 3, omega 6, like good high quality fats, are very important for the human diet. And I didn't realize that until I read a book, Dr. Udo Erasmus's book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, which is all about fats. And and it determined, like, if you're suffering from these kind of issues, you're probably not getting enough fat in your diet. And so after reading that book, and Udo had praised hemp as being the best source of essential fatty acids, even more than flaxseed and more than chia and some of the other, like, fish oil and stuff. And so I got interested in hemp, and I met the other two co-founders of Manitoba Harvest that had just worked for 4 years to lobby the government to legalize hemp in Canada. Because before 1998, hemp was illegal to grow in Canada. And so I just got super passionate about, hey, we're going to change the world from the no fat diet to the right fat diet. And hemp seed could be one of those products. And so we started out with growing with one farmer, 100 acres of hemp, and selling it to a couple health food stores in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And then over 20 years, we grew that into a $100 million business where we worked with about 125 farmers, grew upwards of 75,000 acres of hemp, had two manufacturing facilities totaling 80,000 square feet that were certified to the highest level of food safety and quality, and sold those products to around 16,000 retail partners, from the likes of Whole Foods, but also Kroger and Loblaws and Costco and Walmart and the big grocery retailers as well. And then we're very fortunate to sell the business in 2019 in a $419 million transaction. And now the company lives on and is stronger than ever to offer hemp food products in perpetuity to consumers.
Amazing. Starting out, did you ever think that it would grow to what it grew, or was that really a goal for you from the beginning?
I think probably as being a poor kid, grew up with as a poor kid, and also not educated about business, I wanted to be a millionaire. So I thought $1 million in business was a great target, and so we started out with that target. It took us 5 years to get to our first $1 million in revenue, and I realized after being in business for 5 years and getting to $1 million of revenue, that was nowhere near a millionaire status for me. And our business needed to be 10 times the size of that because we were farming the crop and had manufacturing facilities. And it's really costly to grow a retail consumer brand. And so I started to see the next part of the vision. But yeah, I never would have imagined that we would have grown $100 million business. And I didn't really see that until we were a $10 million a year company, which was about a decade into the business.
Amazing. And then you basically 10x'd over the next 10 years.
Yeah, we grew. Yeah, it took us It took us 10 years to get to $10 million, and then we grew about $10 million a year after that. And I call that the vertical part of the J curve of growth.
Yeah.
It was an amazing ride.
We call that the hockey stick.
Yeah.
So, for many entrepreneurs, their identity, right, is so tied to the company they've built, right? And in terms of, like, when I meet people who are entrepreneurs or in their business, hey, who are you? What do you do? That's immediately, I am the founder of, or I am this. And what was it like for you when you exited Manitoba Harvest? How was that transitionary process for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about the exit and life after the exit, because you're right. Personal brand is tied up in the business. It's a grieving process, and because there's a death of that part of life, or that part of me as a founder. I happen to struggle with the triple grieving process, because at the same time that we were selling the business, my ex and I of 15 years decided it was time to divorce, and my mom died unexpectedly, and so
Oh my.
I grieved, not only the loss of our business and being able to show up to my team of 200 team members and kind of lead them each day, but I couldn't be with my kids half the time, and I couldn't go see my mom anymore. And so it was a pretty hard, 6 months of intense grieving to come out the other side of that, and think about, what's Mike 2.0? What do I want to do next in my life and my career, which now the world gets kind of to see 5 years into that.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm sorry for those losses and those challenges in your life. And I think it's very critical and important that you're free to share those. I'm curious, in your eyes, was those 6 months more challenging looking back than even the 10 or 20-year journey of getting the business where it was?
Yeah, for sure, it was more challenging. I'd say, one of the easiest things of being an entrepreneur, not a lot of entrepreneurs realize this, but if you have one business and your whole life is to try to get that business to survive and hopefully thrive, it's really easy. You know, you even though you're going through challenge after challenge, you're pushing a boulder up a hill every day. You're waking up clear on your mission and on your purpose in life, and when that, so you know, that's hard, but what's harder is when you don't have any direction in life. You've lost your purpose, and you have to find yourself, and at the same time go through all the, you know, the emotional stress and traumas of grieving the past and letting it go.
Right. I mean, do you think that's one of the reasons why? I mean, looking back now, obviously you're past that, but do you think that's why a lot of times, founders or entrepreneurs who are, exiting a business, a lot of times before they're exiting that business, 6 months to a year, you see them start emanating perhaps the next venture, right? Because they don't want to have that disruption. Is that a common theme, you think?
Yeah, I'm sure. What I see is I see also like a lot of entrepreneurs and successful business people that are stressed out in business, and they want to make a change, and so they get an opportunity and they sell their business, but within like a year they're back into another business, and then they're, you know, living that stressed out life again. But I think it's that pattern and that habit of whether it's identity or they're just used to the torment and pain of the entrepreneurship journey, that they jump back in. That's not the path that I chose. I still say I'm a recovering entrepreneur. After 20 years of growing a very large business, I was quite clear that the second part of my career now, I wanted it to look differently.
Yeah. And we often talk just like we are now about the social and emotional side of retiring, right? For a lot of the families we're working with, it's a struggle of, hey, I want to work towards a certain point and retire. And we tell them that, the financial component is one piece, right? Are you financially prepared for that? But at the same time, you have to be socially and emotionally prepared for that. Similarly to an exit from a business and being prepared for those next steps, and despite selling your business, you continue, you have to have a desire to continue to have full days. Can you speak to the importance of understanding that for people who are business? Like, do you feel like you should have perhaps started plan? I mean, you didn't know because this was your first exit, first opportunity, but do you feel like you should have started planning for that 6, 12, 18 months in advance to make a smoother ride? Wouldn't have mitigated those other circumstances that you experienced with your mom and wife, but
It's a great question, and actually, you know, we were very fortunate that we had two liquidity events at Manitoba Harvest, because 3.5 years prior to our sale, and so in 2015, we sold the majority of the company to private equity, and then used the private equity sponsorship to acquire our biggest competitor and continue to grow the business. But that view gave me already one, you know, I had a very significant liquidity event myself personally, but two, it also gave me a sign of, hey, the end of this business road is going to come for me, even though it was another 3 or 3.5 years. And so I was already starting a little bit, some of the other activities like investing in some other companies and participating at a board level at their companies. But it wasn't until I truly finished at Manitoba Harvest in 2019 that I was forced to then jump fully into the now what.
right.
And you know, over the last 5 years I have created that, and because I do need full days, and I highly suggest that for people. You know, you need purpose in life, and I'm a full-time single dad to my two kids, which is family is really important, but I have a high capacity for business. And when we sold the business, I was 43 years old. You know, nowhere near. I can't sit on a beach or, you know, golf all day. I'll go crazy. And so, you know, I wrote a best-selling book. I do public speaking. I coach entrepreneurs. I invest in businesses. I advise and play a governance role in those businesses. And so I have you know, multiple streams of revenue, but more so multiple points that I can still make an impact, along with a significant amount of mentorship out into the community.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool, it's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to mitlin.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. How did your new show's 60-second pitch come to be? Maybe you could share with the listeners what that is and then how it came to be, because I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, I've always loved helping other people out, and I think about mentorship as mass mentorship because I only have a certain amount of time for kind of one-on-one mentorship. So mass mentorship is me helping one to many, and so I do a number of forms of that. My podcast, my newsletter, and so when the one of my call it unfair advantages is access to great founders because because I built a business myself, I have a lot of access to world class founders, and I wanted to use that to share stories of more startup founders, but in a format. So, and then to cut to it, like when I had my podcast, people were interested in the podcast and listening to it for an hour. It's a great show. I'm relaunching it actually right now, but I found that the clips of the show, maybe you feel the same way, the 30-second clips, the 45, 60-second clips, people were really interested in that because it was just, you learned something, and it was packed into a minute. And so I thought, well, wow, what if I could pack a kind of whole business like a Shark Tank episode or a Dragon's Den episode where a founder would pitch their business in a certain format, and we would make it a high production 1 minute video, and it just went off. The first video, you know, where my podcast was getting thousands of views, the first 60-second pitch got 100,000 views to it, and now a couple of the videos have been 1 million or 2 million views to the video. And so people love the format because they learn something about a business, they see a new entrepreneur, they maybe learn about a product that they haven't experienced before, and then entrepreneurs love it because they can get better at their pitching by listening to how someone else pitches over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And it is amazing how, people will not necessarily spend 30 minutes to listen to a whole episode, but they'll listen to 4, 5, 6 clips because they really just want to get those quick hits, actionable ideas that they can, find useful and implement right away. I think that's amazing stuff. And yeah, I wish you much success. And what is the name of the podcast now that you're relaunching it so people can look for it?
It's relaunching as my podcast was Founder to Mentor. It's relaunching with as Grow with Mike Fata, which Grow is the title of my book.
Yeah,
So
we're
I,
going to
I
talk about
wear
that.
I wear it proudly. I'm all about personal and professional growth, and so Grow with Mike Fata, and is the new format of the podcast.
And is growing not only from a personal and business standpoint, but does that tie into the origins of growing hemp or no?
No, I mean, no, I really like just people always said to me, and this is a playback from the community, that I inspire their growth, both from my losing 100 pounds, changing my health around, and personally growing, and growing as an entrepreneur, growing a business to $100 million. So lost 100 pounds and grew $100 million business, frames growth really well for
Yeah.
me. And so that's what I'm offering really out to the world now. And so I thought I should change up my podcast because it is more about, again, I have access to great founders. I want to deliver not so much stories, but actionable advice that people can take and implement in their business tomorrow, the next day, and across kind of all facets, and not only business, but also health and personal growth in life.
Agreed. Great mission. And one of the things that we talked about earlier, and you've been reading labels for 20 years or so, if not more. And as I mentioned, after reading that book, Good Energy, I'm now one of those people as well. I'm looking like I did not understand or know about seed oils and how detrimental they are. And I'm a fairly healthy guy. I could probably lose a couple of pounds, I feel, but it's not even about the weight necessarily for me. It's more the health factor. What's your take on this shift? Because I think, especially somebody who's been involved in this journey for as long as you have, I think now more than ever, we're seeing a shift towards more people reading labels and caring about what is in their food. What's your take on that, on this shift that we're seeing?
I've been 30 years since I started my weight loss journey, and I've been into health, and it has continually developed where there is more and more interest in health, and at the same time, unfortunately, health is on the decline for the masses. So when I started in business in 1998, so 26 years ago now, natural and organic food was about 5% of the overall food industry. And over the last 2.5 decades, it's more than doubled. So it's more than 10% of the food industry is natural and organic food in Canada and the US. But that means 90% of the food is some form of processed or ultra processed food. And that's why, the incidence of obesity and diabetes and all these other illnesses that a lot of them can be just prevented by what we put into our mouth is on an all-time high. So you do have a lot of more savvy consumers, or the middle of the bullseye of people that are interested in health getting more conscious of it. And I think when people go down that rabbit hole, and it sounds like you jump down it and can realize that you can really control your mood, your health, your longevity by what you put into your mouth, and optimize ourselves. Like you have to educate yourself and experiment on yourself, and things like highly processed foods, refined flours, refined sugars, refined oils, in a whole, are big ones to either avoid or take out. Do an elimination part of your diet, and then see how it makes you feel. My
Yeah.
experience, it makes you feel a lot better, a lot clearer, a lot sharper, and you mentioned it's not only about weight, because you could be skinny, so to speak, but unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
It's really about your metabolic health.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's very confusing, at least here in the States. Like things, I felt like I ate relatively healthy, right? Buying a lot of things that I thought was healthy, exercised a lot. And after starting to read these labels of things that I was consuming, it's not healthy. Like I used almond milk in my shakes in the morning, and I was like, oh, almond milk's healthy. And then I realized that the almond milk I was using had a lot of stuff in it. Now I shifted to an almond milk that has water, salt, and almonds.
Yeah,
That's it. And
yeah,
organic almonds. And
yeah.
that shift in itself, it just makes me feel better in the morning. There's a lot of less stuff in it, and you think, it's confusing because you think it's healthy because, oh, almond milk's healthy, but it may or may not be. You have to look at those labels.
For sure, and thankfully, the natural and organic food industry is delivering up more products like that. Like, I'm familiar with the non-dairy milks that are now just the core ingredient, like almonds or oats or whatever, and nothing else. But the highly processed ones that have gums and highly processed seed oils and stuff can have somewhere of a negative impact to a seriously negative impact on consumers. And they're not aware,
Yeah.
because they've been advertised to, saying, "Hey, this is better than you may you may not tolerate dairy well, so here's a good healthy alternative for you." And it's not so healthy.
Killing yourself in a different way. That's
Right.
all, right? So, let's talk about your book, Grow 12 Unconventional Lessons for Becoming an Unstoppable Entrepreneur. Really, I think I know the answer, but what was the motivation behind writing that? I mean, what was your goal in sharing those stories and those lessons with the world?
Yeah, I grew up in an unconventional way, and I wanted to support others, to show that even though you didn't come from a rich family, or even though you didn't go to school or an Ivy League school or school at all, you could find success by being your best self, finding your purpose, getting into, whether you're an entrepreneur, or you're just you're working for someone else's business, by building community, giving back, a number of things that I've learned and used to build my success over time. So, people can get my short form stuff on social media, my medium form stuff on my podcast or newsletter, but I wanted to give them the full long form, like my story, get under the hood, and really learn the practical lessons that I've experienced and learned over the years to develop my success.
Yeah, and I think those are great points, especially in the times that we're in now, where people are complaining about and being challenged with and being laden with student debt. Right? We've created this construct, and I think it's not too dissimilar in Canada. Right? You go to grade school, then you got to go to university, et cetera, and people are coming out with tremendous amount of debt. And I think there are so many other ways. It's not just that path that drives success. Right? You can create success however you want to create success. So I think sharing a message like that, somebody like yourself, I don't know that we want to encourage everybody to drop out of school at 14 per se, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to go from grade school to college in order to have a successful business, successful career, and successful life.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I'm not anti-school at all, but I'm pro education in a number of different ways. I've learned that you could seek out your professors if you choose to do that and learn in a number of different ways in life. And you can also there's an unlimited paths in life that lead to success. And I wanted to illuminate some of those paths because I've walked them, and it may be the right path for others.
Yeah, and we have so much access to those learning lessons now where, in 1998 you didn't necessarily have, right? We didn't have those access to you through those short form, medium form, and the podcast. Now we do. You can learn from anybody and everybody that you want to, which is, as long as you put on the time, effort, and energy, which is fantastic. So uh, we talked a little bit about sports at the beginning before we hopped on and hit record, but I've heard you say that being an entrepreneur is like being an athlete, and I tend to agree. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, we can all look to athletes at the global level, going to the Olympics, and how much they organize their life around how they sleep and what they eat and how they hydrate themselves and how they exercise and train, how they rest, how they meditate and de-stress. And without that, they're never going to be able to compete at that level. They're never going to get a chance at a gold medal. The same is true in business. It's just that people sacrifice themselves and they don't realize how important that is. And they say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to work out, but I'm busy. I have to go and work." But it's a law of diminishing return. And I've experienced it. I came from a place of like I wasn't focused on my health and I weighed 300 pounds and I felt horrible. I wasn't clear any day. I couldn't do work. Like that's why I started with my whole success came from health. And so I've realized when I'm my best self, like well slept, good nutrition, well hydrated, I exercise, I've de-stressed, I'm in a good spot. I can do deep work and accomplish literally 10 times the things in business. And it's not only me, I've seen it. I've helped thousands of other people do it, and I've seen it. And so it's just flipping the switch. Instead of saying, I'm going to sacrifice myself to go and do work. No, no, be your best self so you can go and do your best work. And that's sustainable, whether you're in this for 5 years or you're in your business for 50 years, you can do that. And I believe, I've seen it proven again, is just generate more success if that's what you're after, ultimate business success.
Right. And I think the other correlation is similar to what you experience, right? At that end of the journey, in terms of that entrepreneurial journey, it's very similar to the end of an athlete's career, right? When they have to kind of come to that realization that they can't compete at the level that they were able to, and it's time for them to move on. Very similarly to moving on as a founder from that business and kind of going through those same emotions and practicality that you have to move forward and seek out what's going to be next, right?
Yeah, and you can see athletes that do that well.
Yeah, well, every day.
It's on public display. You can see ones that do it
Right.
well. You can see ones that just blow up their whole life and
Yeah.
and get into bad situations. And so yeah, no different there. Again, whether you're an entrepreneur or even an intrapreneur,
Yeah.
working in someone else's organization and climbing that corporate ladder.
Good point. So, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on. And we ask each of our guests the same final question because we're all about joy on the Mitlin Money Mindset. And that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Oh, Just one thing, or because I have a routine every
You
morning.
could
So
tell us your routine. I think
yeah,
people would be interested in that.
yeah, I got up early this morning, and it was still dark outside, so I spent 10 minutes in front of my red light therapy and just got nice and charged up. And then I did a sauna and a cold plunge, and made a big organic green juice, which I'm still sipping on here, and I feel great. I feel charged up, and I've taken care of my fundamental health items for the day, and I usually start every day somewhat in that fashion.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's a great way to start the day, and I think it's, proof is in the pudding, right? You preach and teach this information, and you follow it yourself. So I think that's amazing, because there are a lot of people out there that talk about it but don't necessarily follow their own advice. So
Well, and I have a good learning, and I talk about this in my book. But we remember 10% of what we learn, but
right.
we remember 90% of what we teach. So if you wanna really be something in life, start putting it out there and start teaching it. Even to someone that's just a little bit more junior than you, and then you will become that. It's an amazing way to really manifest something that you want.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And listen, so it's been a pleasure having you on, Mike. I appreciate your time. We're going to have all of your information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about Mike Fata and what you're up to, what you're doing, the book, the podcast, etc., what's the easiest and the best way for them to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, everything's available on my website, mikefata.ca. But I'm also very active on social, on LinkedIn, if you or on Instagram. If you just send me a note and say that you listened to this episode of the podcast, and I'm happy to connect.
Awesome. Well, listen, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom and knowledge with our listeners. I appreciate it greatly, and enjoy your day.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Larry.
I want to thank Mike Fata for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Mike's entrepreneurial journey has been one of great personal introspection and growth. It is amazing what people can do when they align all the facets of their life towards a common goal. Mike is now using what he learned to help other founders utilize what he has learned and apply it to their own journey. The hope is to help them minimize their learning curve and improve their overall journey. Mike Fata and all he is up to can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find him can be found in the show notes.